Okay, good morning class. We're on to our workbook review. This is Mamu Jarvis, and this morning we are handling what I may call workbook review. So it's New General Mathematics for JS2, which we call the EAT, and we'll be looking at the topic, chapter 7, that talks about what? Algebraic expansion. I've chosen to call my algebraic simplification and what? Expansion. So we'll be going from on page 21 of this text, and our objective will be to try to solve the questions one after the other. So let's get down to work straight away. We look at question 1, and then question 1a, and that will be 7 times 4y. 7 times 4y. How do you do this? Now remember that this will be 7 times 4 times y. Remember, I'm doing this for the purpose of trying to help some of us who may have forgotten from previous class what we had learned. So this will now be what? We multiply the numbers, this will be 28, and that will multiply y, and our final answer becomes what? 28y. That's for question 1. We go to B, and that will be 3 times what? Negative 5z. Let me quickly apologize that for the start off of these questions you may not see my face, but that's not the objective. The objective is for you to focus on the problem, so you'll be able to do that. Now this will be equal to 3. From our knowledge of numerical processes, we should remember that if we have plus times plus, it will be what? Plus or positive. Negative times positive give you negative. We have negative, positive times negative giving us what? Positive. And when we multiply two negative numbers, we're going to get positive. Now that's the first thing you may want to deal with when handling problems like this. So we start by looking at the numbers. What are the signs attached to the numbers? This is positive, this is negative. As such, positive times negative will give me a negative. The next thing you deal with the numbers, 3 times 5, that will give you 15. And then multiply the answer by the letter. And your answer becomes what? Negative 15z. Right? So question C says negative 6a times 4. Negative 6a times 4. So how do you go about solving this? Now, we consider the numbers again, or the terms. Since we are treating algebra, we talk about what? Terms. So this term is negative, this term is positive, so we expect our answer to be what? Negative. And then we multiply the numbers, and then the answer is now multiplied by a. So that's negative 24a. Right? Question D will be negative 4b times negative 2a. We do a quick check on what we have on the board. You discover that negative times negative is what? Positive. Both terms are negative, so we expect our answer to be what? Positive. We don't need to put positive here because every time we write a number or a term without a negative, it's assumed that that term is what? Positive. So with that said, we're going to have 4 times 8, which will be what? 8. 4 times 2 rather, which will be 8. And then b times a. You recall that when multiplying letters of the English alphabet, we said that the answer will always come in the order of the letters of the English alphabet. So if I say b times a, I wouldn't say ba, I would say what? A, b. So that settles that, and that gives you what? A, b. Alright, so we go to E. This will be what? 5a times 5a. Now what is 5a times 5a? This one is quite simple. Both terms are positive, so we expect that the answer will be what? Positive. 5 times 5 will give you what? 25. And a times a will give you a squared. A is occurring twice. This is an Easter egg for the concept of indices. And like I said in one of my classes earlier today, the concepts would go back to the magical era when we talk about the idea of the hanging garden of Babylon. So when we say A times A, we expect A to be what? Multiplied twice. So that will be A squared. So A will hang. Or rather, the number of times A is multiplied will hang. This is a position to write that. So it will be A squared. A twice. So that settles that. And let's go to F. In question F, we have that 7AB times 6A. How do you handle that? Both terms are again positive, so we expect our answer to be what? Positive. So to be what? 7 times 6, that gives you 42. A times A, that will give you A squared. And that's how you write it. And then you multiply that finally with what? B. So you're going to have 42A squared B as your final answer. Alright, let's go to question G. And in question G, we have 45B over 3. Here, we're dealing with division, so we have to cancel out. 3 into this will be 1, and into 15 will be 5. So we're going to have 50B as the answer to that question. As the answer to that question. So we go to question H. Negative 24A over 6. What does 6 cancel? 6 is a number, and so it will only be able to divide another number. So 6 is a factor of 24, and now 4. So that will be negative 4A. We go to I. Half of 8y. Of we usually suggest multiplication. Of we usually suggest multiplication. So that will be equal to 1 over 2 times 8y. And that will be equal to what? 4y. So that answer will be what? 4y. Alright, let's continue. So we come to J. In J, we have negative 3 over 4 of 16y squared. So what would that be? Negative 3 over 4 times what? 16y squared over 1. This will go here, this will go here. And what you're going to have will be what? Negative, because positive, negative times positive. Multiplying the numbers 3 times 4, 12. And then that final answer is used to multiply y squared. So this is what your answer would look like. So we'll come to K. And in K, we're going to have negative 2 over 3. Negative 2 over 3 multiplying negative 18a. Now, the first thing, okay, let's start with the question. It says off. So the next thing you want to do is to take this out. Off will usually mean what? To multiply. So with that said, you must now look at the sign. Their order in handling problems. Negative, negative will mean that the answer will be what? Positive. So lock that. The next thing you do is to try to cancel out. So 2 times 6 is what? 12. Remember that my answer must be what? Positive. Then, that answer is used to multiply a, and that is 12a. Okay? So we go to question L. In question L, we have negative 99b squared divided by 11b. So how do we handle that? Quite easy to. Your first task is to write in standard fraction, which will be negative 99b squared over 11b. That divided means over. Now, there are two ways to solve this, but let's take a method that is bit simpler and okay for us to appreciate. This will now be equal to negative 99 times b times b. I'm not going to bring this b because it is b squared. It means b has occurred how many times? 2 times. Divided by 11 times what? b. So with this, the rule is b will cancel b, letters will cancel letters, and numbers, where possible, will cancel numbers. For letters, it's easier. For letters, it's easier to see that this is already a factor of this. For numbers, you need to know your factors well. This will cancel this will cancel this. Now, look at this. This is negative multiplying a positive. So the answer will be what? Negative 9b. And the answer becomes what? Negative 9b. And that will close out our problems for question 1. Okay, we're back. And in question 2, we are given that a is equal to 6 and b is equal to 3. So we have a few questions to handle here. In this aspect is testing what is called substitutions. Maybe I just put that somewhere. Substitutions. So here we're dealing with what? Substitutions. Alright, so with a, question a, you have a plus b. What is a?
6.
What is b?
3.
And I'll give you 9. Right, that's for question A. For question B, it will be. Alright, so we continue, and that will be a times b equal to what? 6 times 3, and that will be what? 18. A substitution. C, you have that what? A minus b, and that will be what? 6 minus 3, and that will be what? 3. You have D. What is D? You have what? A divided by b, which is equal to a over b equal to 6 divided by 3, and that is what? 2. Alright. So we go to question E, and in question E, we have a question that says 3a plus 4b. Recall, what is your A? Your A is 6, and your B is 3. So this will give you 12, right at 18 plus 12, and that will give you what? 30. Okay, so that settles that for question E. Let's try to take on F. In question F, we have 6a minus 2b. How do we do that? That will be 6 times 6 minus 2 times 3. Now, this is also an idea into the concept of board maths. You take care of the multiplication before you take care of the subtraction. So this will give me what? 36 minus what? 6. And that will just give me what? 30. That's for F. And then we go to G. For G, we have that a squared plus b cubed. This will mean that a is multiplied 2 times. So that will be 6 squared. And b, which is 3, is multiplied what? 3 times. To put in perspective, we will have 6 times 6. And this will be plus 3 times 3 times 3. So multiply that out. What would we expect to have? This is going to be what? 36 plus 27. 26 plus what? 36 rather plus 27. And that will invariably give us what? 63. Thanks for that. That will be 63. And that takes care of that question. And H, for question H, we have 2 cubed minus b squared. 2 cubed minus what? B squared. So how do we handle this? This will now be equal to 2 into 3 places minus b into 2 places. 2 in 3 places, b in what? 2 places. So that will be what? 8 minus 3 times 3. That will be 8 minus 9. Now, the answer is going to be negative because 9 is bigger than 8. And because it is negative, we expect the answer to be what? Negative. And that answer will be negative 1. So that would help conclude question number 2. Okay, so we'll try to look at this question now. A plus 5 into A plus 4. This bracket will multiply these brackets. The first thing you want to do is to use the content of the first bracket to multiply the content of the second bracket. So in doing that, we pick A from the first bracket, we use it to multiply everything in the second bracket. Then we pick 5. 5 is plus or positive. 5 cannot stand on its own, it has to stand with a certain sign. And that will be plus 5 into A plus 4. The next thing we do is to try to open up the brackets. And that will be A squared plus 4A. Letter number is always written as what? Number letter. Plus this 5 will multiply the A, and that will give us 5A. Plus this 5 will also multiply the 4, and that will give us what? 20. We try to add up like terms. This will give you A squared plus 9A. 4A and 5A are terms that are like, and then plus 20. And this will be your final answer. We go to question B, and question B says C minus 6 into C minus 5. How is that done? The contents of the first brackets, okay, sorry about that, it ought to be B minus 3, and this will be B plus 7, right? So we use the content of the first bracket to multiply the content of the second bracket. Each content we take on the whole content of the second bracket. So what you're going to have will be this: B into B plus 7 and negative 3. The Bible says that the identity of 3 is that of negative 3. We'll take on the content of the second bracket. And with that, you expand. By expanding, you're going to have B squared plus 7B. B times 7. And then this negative will multiply the bracket. What the negative does is that it will change the content of the bracket. So this will now be negative 3B minus 21. So what does that give you? That will give you B squared. 7B minus 3B will give you plus 4B and minus 21. That will suffice as our answer for question B. So let's go to C quickly. For question C, you're going to have C minus 6 into C minus 5. C minus 6 into C minus 5. And that would be the content of the first bracket taken on the whole of the second bracket. So that will be C multiplying C minus 5. And you have negative 6 multiplying C minus 5. And that invariably will give us C squared minus 5C. This is positive times negative. That will be negative number letter. And if this is negative, it will change the content of the bracket. And it gives you negative 6C. Negative times negative will give you what? Positive. And that will give you plus 30. So what does that give you? That will give you C squared minus 11C plus 30 as your final answer. Alright, let's try to look at D. The first step will be take an element from the first bracket. Take the first element of the first bracket and multiply it with the content of the second bracket. Pick the second element and multiply by the content of the word. second bracket. That's how this thing is done. You pick the elements and multiply with the second bracket. Then open up this bracket. Open up this one. So you're going to have 12a squared. 12a squared plus 16a plus 9a plus 12 plus what? 12. That will give you 12a squared plus 25a plus 12. And that takes care of the first one there. So we go to the next one, which is question E. Question E says 5b plus 6 into 2b minus 7. The principles are still the same. Take the element, multiply it by the second bracket. Take the second element of the first, multiply by the second bracket. And then what do you have? This will be what? 10b squared. 10b squared minus, this is negative, this is positive, 35b, and this is what? Plus, positive, positive, 12b, 6 times negative 7 is what? Minus 42. The next thing you have is 10b squared. Deal with this part. 35 minus 12 will give me 23. But remember that the negative is bigger, so my answer must be negative. So that will be minus 23b plus what? 12. Is that okay? So that takes care of question E. Let's go to question F. So it's something you have to do repeatedly. I've always told my students that you don't gain mastery by solving question 1 and you want to go to question 20. No. You take it one question at a time, move from one question to the next question to the next question. It is painful, it is demanding, it is time consuming, but it will help to give you a long lasting memory. So question F is 3c plus 5 all squared. 3c plus 5 all squared. How do you handle this? Squared suggests that this bracket is occurring twice. So in testing a knowledge here, you are expected to write this twice. That's the idea. By the time we come to your grade 9, there's a technique I usually teach my grade 9 students. And in less than, by your grade 9, I wouldn't expect you to be doing this for me. I would expect you to be able to look at the question and tell me what the answer is. It's possible. But now we are taking you through the dynamics, how these answers are coming out. And depending on how fast you can process, you'll be able to tell, okay, give me this question, this one I know the answer will be. It's possible. Very, very possible. So with that, will give you 3c into 3c plus 5. The first element of the first bracket multiplies with all the elements of the second bracket. And then 5 multiply with all the elements of the second bracket. So with that, what you're going to get will be, you open up the brackets. So this will give me 9 and what? C squared. This will give me plus 15c plus what? 15c. How did I get that? 5 times 3 will give me 15 plus what? 15c and then plus what? 25. So adding that, will give you 9c squared plus 30c plus 25. And that will be the answer for question F. Please let's take note of the correction in question E. This is actually negative 42. If you follow our transition of work, this will be negative 42. So let's take note of that error made there. Okay, that's the much we can take today, and we hope to continue this series in another class, and we'll trust that we'll be able to complete in another class, and trusting too that whatever you have gained from us today would serve to make your mathematics experience a better one. Thank you for now.